Hello everybody and welcome to my deep dive of part 3 of the tale of Jenny and Screech. This is Violet's tale. So we're going to be getting into this today, talking about the lyrics, the musicality, the meanings, and yeah, I just want to say before we do, if you haven't heard this song before, I want to just give a little bit of a trigger warning that it touches on some really tough issues like domestic violence and um, you know, it might be a hard watch, especially if you've experienced these kinds of things in life. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there before we kind of get stuck in. But the first thing we're going to do is listen to the intro of this song and talk about what it's doing musically and what's going on and how it kind of sets the song up. Beautiful, so haunting, and there's a lot going on with this intro that's very interesting. A little chromatic run in that falsetto, which is actually a hint to what will be coming later on in terms of kind of moving back and forth in time with chromatic movements that Ren does on the guitar. So once again, just like the first two videos, Jenny and Screech, it's just Ren, his voice, you know, and his guitar. It's just a lone guitar in silence, sort of picking its way through the silence, and we're into D minor for this song. We talked before about the key of D minor, that it's kind of the saddest key there is, which is kind of, it's perfect for this song, but the other two, I believe, if I remember correctly, were in standard tuning. This is in standard tuning, but he's dropped the E string to a D, and he's letting the low D string kind of drone. And the effect this gives, it drones like a life support machine, you know, and it, with the visuals of being in the hospital as well, it's, oh, yeah, it's so powerful, and the falsetto voice here, floating above it, it's ghostly, isn't it? It's otherworldly. It's kind of inhuman. It's like a soul trying to communicate through time. It's not like an ordinary intro. It's a kind of sonic seance in a way. It's like a calling out, like a warning or a memory. There's sort of there's a little flamenco influence, which Ren often with his guitar playing, there seems to be. I don't know if he listens to a lot of flamenco music. It's a very curious influence to have as a contemporary musician in a way from, you know, from the UK. But there's also this kind of Renaissance, kind of classical bard kind of style to his playing as well, which I think is part of the reason why so many renegades and fans of Ren refer to Ren as being bardcore, because there is this medieval bard style of playing that he has, that would not feel out of place in a tavern 1,000 years ago, you know, which is it's really, really cool. It's somewhat timeless. So there's a lot going on here musically that is setting the scene for this song. So let's get into the lyrics now. This is verse 1.
London City, far from pretty, 2005. A lady down in Paddington is fighting just to stay alive. Rhythmic beats and bloodstained sheets, Our Lady weeps, she's tired and frail. To set the scene, we must rewind the hands of time for Violet's tale.
Wow. Now that chromatic run there with the guitar, that's what I was saying that Ren was referencing with that little falsetto chromatic run. Chromatic is simply where you move note by note rather than it within a key. It's kind of atonal. It's just, there's no sort of root to it. You're just kind of freely moving, and it gives this kind of discordant dissonance. It's very good for animating. So when he does that run, the ba-doom, 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 it simulates kind of rewinding, doesn't it, or turning back time, especially as he's going up the neck. It's going higher and higher and higher. So he starts out London City, far from pretty, 2005, 2005. With this line, we're rooted in time and place. Paddington, the city's heart, and it's cold, indifferent. Violet is in a hospital bed, frail and dying. And the guitar kind of mimics her vitals, doesn't it? It's rhythmic, it's pulsing, it's weak. And he bends the time backwards at the end here. And musically and narratively, what we're doing with this first part of the verse is we're traveling into Violet's past. It's such creative storytelling musically, this, and I really like how in all of these songs Ren really kind of breaks them up into sections. They're not songs so much as it's more like a play, and the music feels more like a score, and he uses the music so beautifully to kind of animate for your mind's eye this kind of cinematic kind of narrative that he's creating. So let's hear that run again as he turns back time and we go into Violet's past.
Violet was a silent girl, grew up with violent starts. Her mother was a drinker and her father was a bastard. Every night he took a tie but never left the room. I'll spare you with the things he did, I'm sure her mother knew. Violet was a silent girl, she moved out at 16. A semi-detached council flat, paid for by a welfare scheme. Packing shelves at Tesco, stacking jars like pickled bricks. She met a boy named Stevie and he was a little prick. Violet was a silent girl and Violet, she fell fast.
Okay. So first we have Violet's childhood here. Violet was a silent girl. Now, her silence is everything. This is something that goes throughout the song. It's survival, her silence. It's trauma, it's identity. Every night he'd tuck her tight, but never left the room. There's so much in that. It paints such a horrific story in one line, but we don't need to go into detail of. This is the thing with doing a deep dive on these songs, is there are certain things I don't want to deep dive on too kind of intricately, in a sense. You just kind of have to know what he means there, because he's talking about abuse, and it's, again, he's kind of animating this story with the way he's delivering the vocals. It's like a nursery rhyme, isn't it? It's kind of like nursery rhyme phrasing, delivering something that no child should experience. It's that kind of horrible juxtaposition of that that's so effective. And which is, Ren doesn't really need to say more, you know, with that line. Every night he'd tuck her tight but never left the room. He doesn't need to say more. The horror is in what he holds back from saying. And that's incredible lyricism, in my opinion, because when you're able to use words so well that you're telling so much story without speaking, it's the bits in between what he says that that fill out, and that's how he's able to kind of create this whole cinematic experience in your mind, is that everything in between the words he says has such meaning. You know, it's the kind of the emptiness in between, if that makes sense, if I'm kind of making sense of that. The guitar's kind of smoother, but it's not peace in the smoothness. It's more like resignation, isn't it? So we've gone from Violet's childhood, and now we're going into her teenage years.
Out at 16, a semi-detached council flat, paid for by a welfare scheme, packing shelves at Tesco, stacking jars like pickled bricks. She met a boy named Stevie and he was a little prick. Violet was a silent girl and Violet she fell fast. See, Stevie was a wrong un, but he sure knew how to charm her. Every night he'd tuck her tight but never left the room. History repeats itself, he'd paint her black and blue and she never stood a chance. The devil comes to dance.
Now, I knew getting into this was going to be the hardest one to do a deep dive on, because it's so real, like so visceral, that man, I when I did my reaction to this, I kind of struggled my way through it, and by the end of it I couldn't even speak, you know. So coming back to this again, it's a difficult thing, and with the previous deep dives I kind of had a lot of bullet points and a lot of like ideas kind of noted and stuff. With this one I decided I just kind of had to free flow it a little bit more, make less notes, and just kind of really get into it and kind of just speak from the heart more, I guess. So going into her teenage years, she moves out. So she tries, basically. She had this abusive childhood, but she's trying to do something for herself, elevate herself, and you know, like she's got a job at Tesco. Tesco, if you don't know, is a massive supermarket chain in the UK. Quite a sort of like value supermarket chain. It's not an expensive one like we've got like Waitrose or Marks and Spencer's is more the high end. Tesco, it's not like the low end. It's not Lidl or anything, but it's like lower mid kind of thing. Not great, but it'll be minimum wage, you know. She's got herself into a council flat. She's got some independence until enter Stevie. He was a little prick. The guitar becomes rhythmic again, boxed in, repetitive, like time circling back on itself. Beautiful musically there. And then the repetition of this phrase, every night he'd tuck her tight but never left the room. Same lyric, different abuser, same nightmare. Cycles don't end on their own. And this song, I think is the most important out of the three. They've all got a lot of message within them about all kinds of different topics, but the overarching theme of all three of these songs is generational trauma. And I've spoken to a lot of you guys in the comments and stuff when I did the reaction to this, and that was just the consensus, you know, across the board about this song, about these songs, is that that's what it was. And this song really highlights the cycle, you know, about how cyclical trauma can be. Because if you experience trauma, especially as a child, if you experience childhood trauma, you will then go out and find more of it. If you had like an abusive father, your girl, how often does it happen that, or a neglectful father, that then they those women go out and find partners who are just like their dads, you know what I mean? Because that's what they expect from men. And what is modeled early on is what you will repeat. And it's very incredibly difficult to kind of break those patterns. And that line, like, she never stood a chance, the devil comes to dance. There are so many people in these situations who don't stand a chance because they've got nobody around them when they're young to guide them or show them a positive way to be, you know, a way to be happy and a way to surround yourself with good people who lift you. If you're born into a family that just drags you down, you're going to surround yourself with more people who drag you down, and you're going to be afraid and confused by anybody who tries to lift you up, you know. And you'll probably find as well, all the people you have around you will try and push that person away and warn you away from them. Yeah, again, Ren is saying very little, but saying so much. That's the power of lyricism, of strong storytelling, is kind of showing, not telling. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to spell everything out and paint this really complex thing. You can say something that just, you can like describe a person with one line, you know? Like, what was it from the story? Like, I saw somebody described as a bloodshot soul. And that line, a bloodshot soul, doesn't that give you a full image of what a person looks like? That's not from this song, but that's just from a story. It just popped into my head. A line like that, you can give a whole image of somebody without having to describe them, if that makes sense. So now we're getting into part 5, which this is what the real warning is about, and this is the part of the song that I find the most difficult. So let's get into it and talk about this.
The devil comes to dance. Violet, why are you always so quiet? On her bedroom door and he's irate. He's been drinking and smoking, he's up late. And he stands by her bedside, she shakes, but her eyes stay shut. You fucking slut, I know you're up. And he pinches her eyelids and folds them up. Violet, why are you lying to me, Violet? She stays silent, things turn violent. That's the sound of his fists when they fall like a crashing pilot. Hit like hailstones, one to the collarbone, full force, full blown, blood splat, bone crack, knick-knack, paddywhack, one to the jaw and the tooth spat, detached fist connects and disconnects a bone. A quick deflect to misdirect the blow, but nonetheless his punches met her throat. Such a mess he's left her bruised and broke. Violet, why you always so silent, Violet? Why you such a little liar, Violet? Do you think I want to do this, Violet? In character, she stays silent. Well, say something, Violet. Silence. Fucking say something, Violet. Silence. Wait. Say something, Violet. Not one word. She stays quiet.
Violet, why are you always so quiet? It starts with a question and escalates into rage. The section is mostly a cappella, and Ren's voice displays the whole violence. Blood splat, bone crack, knick-knack, paddywhack. He uses children's rhymes as a weapon, a haunting juxtaposition of innocence and abuse. And the guitar kind of punches in and out like breath between blows. Each dissonant slide sort of mirrors her bruises, you know? Say something, Violet. Silence. And when she doesn't respond, that silence becomes unbearable. The cinematography is very impressive in this section as well, particularly like when he sort of peels her eyelids back and is so close and it kind of coming in and out of focus. It's like waking up. It's like, it kind of mimics what that would be like for somebody to actually open your eyes. It's going to be blurry at first, and they've done a really good job by sort of moving the camera so close it goes out of focus, pulling it out, putting it back in. And cinematography, like the cinematography is so powerful because it makes you feel like you're there. It makes you feel like you are Violet, and not only now are we kind of hearing Violet's tale, we are Violet. We're experiencing what it's like to see through Violet's eyes, to feel what Violet feels at the most kind of horrific of what she feels through her life. You know what I mean? It puts you in her seat and puts you in her first person, and you this is, to me, the largest kind of point of empathy in all the songs, where we really actually get to be the character and really feel it. And I think empathy is a large part of what these songs are all about. It's all about getting the opportunity to see through other people's eyes and feel what they feel. Because it's one thing to hear a story on the news, this happened, oh, that's sad. And I think the problem with society that we have is that people don't see through other people's perspectives. It's a lot easier not to, because it's scary and sad to think there are reasons for things. It's much easier to label people as violent, or that wouldn't happen to me because of this, that, or the other, or, you know what I mean? It's like to cast blame there. It hurts to think that horrible things happen to people who don't deserve it, you know, but that's what happens all the time. And what Ren's doing here so beautifully is he's really bringing you into the minds of people in very unfortunate, horrific situations, and getting you to like be them, think as them, and therefore care more about, you know, fellow humans than we do, is to actually like get into other people's minds who are less fortunate and care more in order to make some kind of positive change. I think that's what this is all really all about. Like, what does Ren want from making this video? It's not this kind of glorified, violent, cool, like fucking thing that he's putting out for clicks, you know? It's I believe there is real want for positive action to come from this video. It's trying to get out to as many people as possible to affect people's mindsets on these things and become more caring and want to sort of do more to help people in need like this. You know what I mean? Rather than kind of like brushing people off as like council house kind of, you know, it's just, wow, that's what they get up to, you know, thinking like that, because there's a lot of people out there who think like that, and it sucks, you know. So we're going to get into the next part. Once again, we end with this chromatic line, but this time he's not going up the neck, he's going down it, isn't he? So we're coming back to the present day. Again, it's just masterful storytelling through music. It's like musical animation.
Wait. Say something, Violet. Not one word. She stays quiet. London City, far from pretty, 2005. A lady down in Paddington is fighting just to stay alive. The doctor, in a state of shock, saw something here so very wrong. See, Violet, she was pregnant. Poor Violet, she was 9 months gone. Turning to the doctor, Violet broke her silence and she cried, "If I'm to die right here tonight, please let my baby stay alive." The doctor soon regained composure, called the surgeon to come in. As Violet's world turned to black, the curtains closed, the lights went dim. In London City, far from pretty, 2005. A lady down in Paddington just lost the fight to stay alive. A tragedy or a miracle, it happened on these very streets. Two twins are lying side by side. A girl named Jenny and a boy named Screech.
Ooh. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is Ren's masterful use of reverb throughout this song. You know, when he goes into the hallway to sing and it echoes up, and this section, you know, when he comes out into the street and it's the reverb of the street that's outside, you can hear kind of laughter in the background, you can hear the sounds of the city and stuff, you know, and it's kind of dark, and it's this street he's found here in London. It's very like, there's something quite Oliver Twist about it, isn't there? It's old school London, and you know, a lot of London is like that. You can walk around and it's like, it's a little different. There's some modern things about, you know, but this doesn't feel a million miles away from like old, like rough Victorian London, especially with the kind of the music that's being played here. It takes you back to that bleak, you know, old Victorian kind of feel to it. So when we come back to the present, musically, we return to where we were at the beginning. The D note drones again. The finger picking returns, soft but broken. And Violet, who's been quiet the entire song, finally speaks. If I'm to die right here tonight, please let my baby stay alive. Her only line. She's silent the whole story. It's her only line. If I'm to die right here tonight, please let my baby stay alive. Her only line and her final plea. The guitar is it cradles her words like a lullaby, doesn't it? But the lullaby is her goodbye. I love how throughout there is this kind of nursery rhyme lullaby aspect to the way the vocals are delivered. I think in a way throughout it kind of keeps you in touch with the character's inner child, and keeping you rooted to that inner child. Again, maintaining more empathy and more care. It's a lot easier to care for a child than it is an adult. But if you keep reminding the listener, this was an abused child, you know, and that's kind of done throughout with all three songs, is this all started here as children, you know, and that's one of the things that's so powerful about this trilogy, is how important it is to nurture and care for children, because I think there are a lot of people out there who don't think children know what's going on. Children don't pick up on things. Children don't worry about things. Oh, they're just kids. What do they know? They don't know what's going on. They don't know what we're arguing about, what we're shouting about. They're just playing with their toys upstairs. They're not scared. They're not worried. You know, it wasn't even that long ago, really, that doctors didn't believe that babies felt pain, you know, and babies would undergo operations and things without any anesthetic. I mean, we're going like 100 years back or whatever, but it's not that long really in human history where children weren't seen as people. Children should be seen and not heard, and we're kind of on this journey, I think, as humanity, of realizing that humans are their most sensitive when they're children, and they're most delicate, and what happens when you're a child will impact who you'll become as an adult, what you do, and what you go on to achieve, what you turn into. It all happens in your formative years. And so if a child is surrounded by violence, they will continue to be surrounded by violence. They will continue to surround themselves by violence, whether that's maybe a boy who experiences violence and then goes and becomes violent himself, or, which is very common, or a girl who experiences violence and then continues to surround herself with people who are violent to her. You know, it's a tale as old as time, isn't it? Yeah, and at the end of this, is it a tragedy or a miracle? Like, Violet dies, but her twins survived. Two twins are lying side by side, a girl named Jenny and a boy named Screech. The entire trilogy now clicks into place. This wasn't just Violet's story, it was the origin story of Jenny's tale and Screech's tale. But not only that, it totally reframes Jenny's tale and Screech's tale, in that they are brother and sister. So, by chance, they were estranged siblings who then met and both died the same night. This cycle of trauma, cycles, pain, inheritance. The guitar fades out at the end of this, not with resolution, but with grief. I think that Violet's Tale is a tragedy told in rhyme, a ballad of silence, a testimony to generational pain. Ren doesn't just narrate, he sort of embodies the characters. He becomes an abuser, a victim, a doctor, and a ghost, sort of all at once sometimes. And every musical choice he makes with every musical choice he made with the composition of this song supports the story. Every lyrical repetition mirrors real-life trauma patterns. And by the end, Violet's silence is the loudest scream in the trilogy. If you felt something, while listening to this, that's the power of storytelling. It makes you feel. And who can watch this and not feel anything? It's a masterpiece. The whole trilogy, particularly Violet's Tale, I think. It's so incredibly human. There's so many layers to it. And I think it's incredibly important. And I really wanted to take this on as a deep dive, going into all three of these. Hard for me to do. I was, trepidatious about doing it. But I thought it was extremely necessary to go into these. And I also thought it was extremely necessary to do deep dives on these as individual songs and not the trilogy, which I know has thrown some people, because it's a little bit of a rhetoric kind of thing that every reactor must do the three at once because of the twist at the end. And it's a good twist. It does reframe everything. But I think if you only look at it as a trilogy, you will lose things, especially with a deep dive where you're really looking into the lyrics, because there's more stories within this than just the tale of Jenny and Screech. There's a lot going on in each individual video, each individual song. There's artistry and concepts that have been brought up that we've gone into that all need looking at individually, rather than wrapping the whole thing up in, oh, they were all related. That's and generational trauma. Sure, that's a consistent theme throughout this, but there are other themes as well, that I believe each character, Jenny, Screech, and Violet, all individually deserve to be analysed from a writing perspective and a musical perspective, rather than lumping them all in as one song, because I think a lot would have got lost if I'd done it that way. So I really do quite firmly stand on my decision to have done these individually. I don't think it would have been the same at all if I'd done them all as one, and also it would have been extremely long. And I would have glossed over so much, because I'd have been trying to fit too much in. So I hope you agree with me, but if you don't, then sure, okay. Yeah, I think this is some of Ren's best work. I think there's Ren has done so many amazing things, but there is a kind of top shelf, isn't there, with Ren's work of pieces of art. They're more like art pieces than songs. They're kind of like they're so conceptual, and they're kind of they're life affecting pieces. It's art that should change you, and that's kind of like Ren's top shelf. Like, pieces like High Ren, The Tale of Jenny and Screech. They're these songs that will affect your perspective on life, you know, and I think it's incredible. I think it's doing a lot of good and will continue to do a lot of good in the world. And I hope Ren is incredibly proud of what he has done here and what he has created, because it's really, really, really something special and really something worth talking about a lot. And I really hope you've enjoyed these deep dives. I hope you guys have got something out of them. I certainly have. I've really, you know, as I say, it's been difficult, but I'm so glad that I've done them. And, you know, I've only just started with deep dives as a type of content, but so I'm still like improving and learning. I still haven't quite found my rhythm yet with them. I don't think. I think there will come a point where I'm like, right, I've got a set kind of structure that works, but I'm experimenting a little bit at the moment. And these have been interesting to kind of experiment with in that way, because there's so much going on. That yeah, it's been it's been a real journey, and I'm looking forward to doing more. So let me know if there are any songs by Ren or by any artist that you particularly think that I should do a deep dive into in the future. Please let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought about some of the things about the song and about what I've talked about in this. What do you kind of agree with? What do you disagree with? What are your thoughts on Violet's Tale and The Tale of Jenny and Screech as a whole, now that we've completed the trilogy? How relevant to you is the twist at the end? Is it, you know, is it the be all and end all of the trilogy, or, you know, do you see it as something else? I'm very, very interested to hear different viewpoints on these songs. So yeah, let's get that conversation going in the comments. As always, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and take care. Peace and love.